Hey there, it's Kate, and it's Friday afternoon, and I'm popping in here today to talk about what you do when your kids play up. First off, if you don't know who I am, I'm Kate Thompson. I'm a life coach, health coach, emotional freedom coach, and soon to be essential oils coach. And if you know me, you know that I love to talk about families, how to keep our emotions in check and make things run with the flow, not against the flow, as well as I love essential oils. And I use essential oils every day, and I wished I had have known about them when I was raising my large, tricky family. What do I want to talk about today? So, what do you do when your kids play up? I know some of you are going to pull that stint of being the perfect family on TV where, mummy walks around in a high heels and her apron and is vacuuming. Yeah, no, that isn't real life and it doesn't happen. When you've got at least two kids in the house, at some time or other, they're going to get on each other's nerves. At some time or other, it's going to be he said, or she said, or I don't like him, or I don't like her. And there's going to be just one of those times where your kids play up. So I'm here to just give you a few hints and tricks that I used with my two large families. My first family, biological family, I had four children, which was in the 2+2 era. And then we had our second family was eight children. So we were never fitting the norm. And we had lots of different personalities, and we still do. I have 12 kids, 12 different personalities. So, how do you make it mix? And in my mix, if you've got multiples, how do you make that mix? We had three sets of twins. We still have three sets of twins. I am very happy to say my twins are really close to each other. And my two sets that are half siblings, they are very close. All four of them are very close. So, what happens when they're not so close? What happens when that day comes and it's the day where you have really good things planned to do, like you're going to do some work for yourself. Maybe you're going to write on your book. Maybe you're just planning to have some time out and read a book. So, what do? What I want to tell you, when kids play out, this is what they are seeking. They're seeking something. Number one is always attention. So, what can happen is if you have a child that is in your family and suddenly this child is needing more attention than the other children, then you can sometimes get that little bump in the road. What I always tried to do, and I can't say I was always successful at it, but I always tried to recognize when one child needed me above the others. And I always tried to somehow make something special for them or make them understand that this was a temporary thing, that little Johnny wasn't feeling well today. And, mummy had to really attend to his needs today. So would you help mummy do this? Generally, if it's not for a long period of time, they will get that. They will understand that. Sometimes they're not getting enough attention because, quite frankly, mum gets frazzled. Mamas all get frazzled. We all get frazzled. They've all been just in that icky place all day, and you just don't want to hear about it anymore. When the bottom line is they're not going to get better until you actually address it. I'm going to tell you, I'm in the process right now of just revising and re-editing a book I wrote. It was published 9 years ago, and it was a book called Finding Friday, and it was a book about a child that we actually rescued back from Liberia. He had been sent back undercover, never to return to America again from a broken adoption. How do I know he was never supposed to return from America again? Because all of his papers were taken off him and they were back here in America. He had no way of getting out of Africa ever again. But when through God's grace and magic and wonderment that we did get to rescue him and we did get to bring him home. He was feisty. He was mad. He was mad at the world. And he always remembered my eldest two boys, who were just 4 or 5 months older than him, but he always remembered them as being pussycats. And he never saw them as a unit, really, because he'd only ever come to visit for a few days. And he knew they were the twins, but he knew they had individual personalities, and he had never seen them addressed as the twins. So he wasn't sure that he wasn't be able to just become the top dog of the three of them. Well, long story short, that totally failed because he did not understand the unit that these boys were. They might have been two individuals, but they're a unit. They are now 26 years old, and I can tell you they're still a unit. One does not go far without the other. And even though they lead their own individual lives, they live in different places, they are extremely close, and one will always be there for the other. And I can remember one particular day where the fight was fierce. I mean, yeah, we had a hole in the wall and the toilet roll holder was off the wall. And tempers were heated, and I was wondering how to get it down. Well, I'm going to tell you a trick of mine. I make them pray for each other. It works every time. Do you know what you do when you come up and you're not yelling, you're not screaming, and you go and say, okay, boys, let's just pull it back. Why don't we pray for each other? It's really hard to fight when you're praying, especially when mum is standing there smiling at you saying, time to pray. And they know they've just put a hole over here and ripped something off over here. And I am telling you, this works every time. It's one of my tricks. When your kids are just in that place where you go, how do I get them back from this? I'm going to tear my hair out. I'm telling you, this is a great trick. The other thing is when kids get really out there sometimes, it's because their routine is off or you don't have a routine. Routines are magic. I could not run my house without a routine, and I certainly had one in place all of the time. Everybody knew what time we got up. There was no, oh, I'm going to sleep till 11 today. Not until they were well into teens anyway. But no, that wasn't on. I just believed that we functioned as a family, and the stronger we were as a family together if we ate together, if we prayed together, if we had fun together, then the family would be stronger for it. And now with my youngest to nearly 20, I can tell you that worked. That worked. Our family is a very, very strong family that totally defends each other. I've had a child that's been in somewhat of a crisis in the last couple of weeks, and I cannot tell you how wonderful my older children have been, how even wonderful all of the other children in the family have been. It's like the family rallied and came around and said, what can we do, Mum? How can we help? What can we do to help their sibling as well? So I am saying to you, do things together, get up together, do the chores together, get them to help with the washing, get them, and I'm not saying delegate it all. I've never, and I will tell you this honestly, and I can look you straight in the eye and tell you this honestly, I have never had a team worker that was underneath me. I have never had an employee that was underneath me, and I've never had a child that I said, you do this, and I could not do it as well myself, if not better, or I did not at least help and participate. And I tell you that is a great thing. It's so easy as you grow up and you delegate this job to that, this job to that, and this job to that, and this job to that, while you look after the youngest one or whatever. That isn't being a family. That's actually, I don't feel that's being a family. It wasn't how it was in my family. And my kids always knew that if I was there right beside them and I was there to help. Besides that, when you are beside them and you're all doing chores, it's a great way to have that conversation that all kids need, especially the older they get. They need that conversation. And when they're having conversation with their siblings, they're getting to know their siblings. They're getting to know that, hey, maybe this person who is my brother or sister isn't a bad guy after all. So, routine is absolutely important. When you've got little ones and they're fussy, check whether they're hungry or whether they need a drink. And that might not be a bottle, that may be they need a drink of water. Maybe they're a little dehydrated. Check for food and drink. And I don't mean overfeed them either at all. But sometimes we can all get busy and lunchtime has gone on a little long, or maybe when they get to that difficult age, sometimes they don't want to eat. That includes 2-year-olds and it includes teenagers, because teenagers are now about, even if they're boys, oh, do I have a belly? We are so preoccupied with our exterior these days, and teenagers are like that. So keeping that eye on them, making sure you're having that family meal with them, helps you to notice these things, not necessarily pounce on these things, but notice if they're getting grumpy, maybe they're hungry. So sometimes they're unwell. Sometimes they're maybe running that low grade fever and they don't feel all that well, and can't that express that to yourself. I've had kids say to me, nah, there's nothing wrong with me. No, go away. I don't want to talk to you. All sorts of things. And then it turns out that they've got a really bad headache, or their tummy is hurting and they don't know how to express that to you, or they don't want to express that to you. Teenagers are our people that are growing into young adults through confusing times, really confusing times. And mine went through that too, are still going through that. It's a lot to ask of an 18-year-old when they actually graduate what they want to do. There's very few of them who actually know that. In fact, I would say in my family of 12, there's only been one or two or three that were absolutely solid on what they wanted to do. So give them that space. Let them have that uh, ability to get to know themselves, and make sure that they're not skipping corners because they just want to look good in that bikini next weekend, or, hey, they got prom coming up. That's always a good thing. With visual tools, I'm going to tell you, have a schedule. Always have a schedule. Even if it comes down to having a daily schedule or a monthly schedule or a weekly schedule, and that is on your refrigerator. These days we have kids that are so busy. They're so busy with sports outside the home. They are so busy with so much schoolwork, so much homework, graduating, or seniors and juniors who are trying to apply for GEDs and get extra credits and things like that. And their schedule can go out the window, and that actually then starts to cause some stress. Make sure you've got a schedule going. Make sure they know they can come and fill in their schedule. Do you know how many times I was never told, oh, it's 4:45, I got to be at ballet at 5 today, Mum, and it's not a normal ballet day. So get them to fill in. Teach them to do this. Teach them to have routines, and I'm telling you, houses run way, way, way smoother with a routine. Put your jaws into bite-sized pieces. I have never, ever waited till the laundry got up to here. I have never, ever, ever let a load of laundry stay in my laundry. You know why? Because it gets crushed. I then may have to iron it. Who wants to iron? You only iron in Australia, where you hang clothes out in the line. They're so like that. Yeah, you have to iron them. No, I'm not doing that. I'd rather take the 3 or 4 minutes to fold that laundry, hang it up, put it on coat hangers so it can go straight away. That is a time saver, because in the end, when you've got, well, in a large family, I could have 4 loads every day when they were small. But if you're not doing that, just imagine what it's like in 3 days. Don't go there. Do chop your chores up into small pieces and teach your kids to do the same thing. Assign setting the table. And if you don't sit around the table for at least one meal a day, do so. Do you know, last night I had a child that came home from the hospital and was not feeling himself. And I was lucky. I had some of the older kids here, and I made hamburgers and stuff, so it was a good night. And then in the end, the older ones, his siblings, and one of the boys' girlfriends said, "Hey, let's all go and sit in the front porch." And so we all went out and sat in the front porch. Then when we came back in, they all sat around the kitchen table having fun, talking, and making the child who'd been in hospital just feel really welcomed back into the home and feeling at ease after not being terribly well. So, if you don't sit around a family table, start to make it into your routine. I know mornings can be tough, and sitting around a table in the morning is not the easiest thing. But we always in this family had a rule of sit around the table in the evening, and we still do. So do that. Don't wait till clutter becomes overwhelming. Get it uncluttered. Do it a piecemeal at a time. And that includes those kids' rooms that can get really out of hand and you can get overwhelmed. I think I've sort of said enough today, but remember, all of these things that I've just talked about can be the things that are the reason why your kids are playing up today. So have a look. Be willing to own if you have not been present with them. Be willing to own that and just sit down, leave what you got to do for a moment, and make them feel loved and wanted. Those young years go by fast. The teenage years are not the same as the young years. This is where you're going to deal with the pouts and they're not going to want to tell you everything anymore, and it changes. So enjoy every minute that you can have with any child at any time and make time for that. I still make time for my adult children as well as my grandchildren. So I might talk a little bit more about that. But that's it for today. You have an absolutely fabulous weekend. And I'm sorry I went a little longer than I normally do. But I just so wanted to give you those nuggets just in case it's raining on the weekend and you got kids inside. Just rewatch it. Okay, you have an awesome day and have an awesome weekend. Bye.